Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone. I am Dr. Roland A. Drolet, PhD in Biomedical Engineering from the University of Toronto, 1971. I am the developer and inventor of the RUMART PEM system that has helped over 1 million people all over the world who were suffering from all kinds of health problems. My daughter Joseanne, part of the team since she was born. Now we are going to talk about the scientific philosophy of life, and I mentioned the AS9 connection of humanity. I won't go in detail about that, but this series is really about the scientific philosophy of life. So I'm going to go to different pages to explain you a little bit about this video clip series, about 10 video clip. So 64, I'm just going to show you briefly, but I'm not going to explain it into details, because in one of the clips I will go in further detail about it. But this is about the 7 golden rules to be happy and healthy and help reduce health costs by some 33%. Okay, so this is published in some literature that I've produced, and also in the RUMART journal, page 144 is RUMART journal number 3, which is available in English on the internet at rodrol.org. And so we are going to talk a little bit in this future clip about the 7 laws of self-care after Dr. Tom Ferguson, who wrote in a magazine called Medical Self-Care, who teaches how people should really care about themselves and not just depend on others, whether they be medical doctor or others, but they learn to take care of themselves. We're going to talk about physical, mental exercise. When in physical danger, use emergency service. So these are general rules that I call the golden rules to reduce waiting lists, hospital waiting lists, and one of them is the relaxation or anti-inflammatory system, the RUMART system approach, to help prevent and control over 80% of chronic health disease because of chronic health condition, because it is known for about 7-8 years now that inflammation is involved in over 80% of chronic health problems. And so this is major. And who am I to pretend this? Well, I'm not pretending this. These are facts that we have been experiencing since 36 years with the people who use the system, and clinicians who tested it and used it, and they arrive at this conclusion. So over 80% of all known health problems, either acute or chronic ones, and in the end we say, smile, the whole world is improving when you smile. And the first part is yourself. Right? Okay, so this is a clip that will be presented in more details later on. And now I want to really show you this sheet number 61. That is really a general introduction of this whole scientific philosophy of life. And really, we could say that when one understands fully what is presented here, somehow he understands what is needed to understand all the rest that is presented in the series, okay? So I'm going to demystify a few words that we hear many times, but we wonder, what does it really mean? You look in one dictionary, says something, another one says something else, a third one some other things, and if you ask your parents or somebody, they will tell you something else. So what's important is to make your mind about things. So actually, there are dictionaries. I talk about meditation on emptiness as a reference book in English about the Buddhist approach, but there are dictionaries, there are all kinds of books. Here I'm going to present, to demystify a few words. So I would like you, if you can look at them as well. So I said here in 2016 for this century and beyond, because what I'm trying to demystify here are words, phenomena that are applied to so many things in life, okay? So I've added a title, Universal Physics, to demystify a few important words, like Rumar Dharma, as I mentioned in an earlier clip. Why Rumar Dharma? Because I realized from John Hopkins that the translation Dharma translated into English is a word in the Sanskrit language, Indo-European language, and in English it's best translated by phenomenon. So we have a pamphlet, we talk about Rumar phenomenon, all kinds of phenomenon, so we could talk about Rumar Dharma, in the sense that Rumar as a method and as a tool can teach us a lot of things if we listen to people and we do experiment on it. So the word conscience, if you just separate it etymologically, it means with science. Con in Spanish means with. So conscience somehow it means with science. Okay? But many people who talk about conscience, they pretend that science has nothing to do with this, because they think of Cartesian science, of pure mathematics, and they don't understand that the main objective of science is knowledge, okay? Object of knowledge and the truth. So science in general terms has no limit as a dharma or as a teaching, okay? So the word connaissance, it's interesting. In French, the word connaissance, it means knowledge, translated into French. But connaissance in French, connaissance means in French with birth, if we translate it, okay? So we could have the idea that knowledge comes with birth, in the sense that if we die to the previous things, we come to birth to new things. So the word phenomenon, so this is what I mentioned earlier, the word dharma in Sanskrit language is really the translation of phenomenon in English, which means object of knowledge. So this is very general, okay? The word rebirth, it's like renaissance, to be born again, okay? So, and the word death is a transformation. In Buddhist teaching, death is not really an end to things, because it's a transformation. Take example, the energy never dies. I wrote different ways of dies. Energy never dies, it transforms. Just think of a silkworm to silk egg and to butterfly. The genetics is transformed, and eggs, all the molecules are mixed up and are transformed to produce a butterfly from a silkworm. This is really wonderful. If we think of an egg to a chicken, and if you think of atom plus H2O plus spark, you end up with about 25 amino acids that can be produced now. And in Miller experiment, this American scientist done an experiment in 1956 or 58 with atoms that are present in the early atmosphere plus water vapor plus electrical spark. He was able to produce about 18 amino acids. We know today that there are about 22 amino acids involved in life, like in chains of lipids, for instance. And today, with these techniques, we can produce up to 25 amino acids, 3 more than exist in life, in our body. Okay, so life needs 22. So here, about the word emptiness and vacuity, I explained it when I was talking with François. In French, vacuity, and in English, emptiness. In the Buddhist approach, it means that everything, every phenomena does not exist inherently, independent of the rest of things that exist. Okay, so this is a concept that is a little difficult for many people who have not been thinking about the relation between different phenomena, but this is something that could take a lifetime to really fully understand and these concepts. Now I come to quantum vacuum. We talk about the scientific philosophy of life. So these emptiness or relation between everything, we can see it as a quantum vacuum that contains photons plus matter and virtual particle. In the electromagnetic vacuum, what we call the quantum vacuum, we know that in vacuum there is a dielectric constant and a magnetic permittivity, and the combination of these two constants really give the speed of light. So in some of these clips I show how from a condenser or a pure capacitance of a region of air, okay, or a vacuum, and the permittivity of the vacuum, how automatically light photons are created. So somehow from space, capacitance in space, let's say of a radius r in a parallel plate capacitor, for instance, with this capacitance and the inductance of the vacuum around it, automatically at resonance frequency between this capacitance and the inductance of the vacuum around it, at resonance, an electromagnetic wave is automatically created and travel at the speed of light. So somehow it's the creation of time from electrical charge, particle, and space. Time is created. So there you see that everything is related. Even what we see as empty is empty of something, but it's not really empty, because even pure vacuum, somehow I call it electromagnetic vacuum. So in the vacuum, what is there? We could say the sum of HF is the sum of photons. Okay, this is the energy of a photon. that can be visible light, but can be of any wavelength. So here, let's try to summarize everything that is related in our world. So you have atoms plus photons, electromagnetic energy, okay? Matter at a certain temperature automatically emits photons, okay? And atoms that combine themselves to produce different molecules, and of course the photons they exchange, it can produce life, and it did. And why, for instance, the pulse waveform of the nervous system is critical damping, like the pulse waveform of the robot system. Why is it like that with the living system? The answer is simple. If it's not at resonance, it doesn't work, and we wouldn't be there. Without our nervous system, we are a pack of cells that cannot interact. So, of course, with atom electromagnetic energy, you get life, and you get, if you have life, you will have death and rebirth, according to Buddhism. And of course, they say in Buddhism that anything that is composed materially will be decomposed at some time. So we better think of spirituality and mindfulness to make sure that there is a continuation or a continuum after our body goes back to the earth, as Buka Diouf expressed so well in a little book. He says, give back to those trees what belonged to those trees. And he talks about the people in his country who place their dead people near the base of the given tree, and they say the molecules of the person is used as nutrition for those trees, who with the help of the sun and the leaves produce the oxygen for the people who are living now, the children and grandchildren. Isn't that a wonderful example of a biologist, humorist, who lived in Quebec and who was born in Haiti or somewhere, and who realizes that life cycle is not limited to one life. So this is what I mean by showing the bidirectional arrow there, that death gave life to something else, produce photon atom. So now I just want to go one step further. We could talk about the land, mastering the land, miracles that are produced, and mystery. We cannot understand everything, but there are what I call scientific miracles. When we think about it, we realize that it's understandable. It's not something that has no cause and no explanation. But there are things that we can't really explain. We call them mystery. And here I talk in some of those clicks about spring-loaded and electromagnetic universes. I made a parallel between a spring that would simply hold a mass from the ceiling. And if you just pull down the mass and you let it go, you will have a certain oscillation, a certain frequency of oscillation. And the same thing happens with electromagnetic wave. You have a resonant frequency. So I made a parallel between the resonance of a mass like this with a resonant frequency and the resonance of the vacuum, electromagnetic resonance. And I found the parallel. And I realized that when the frequency gets higher and higher of the photon, the elastic constant of the vacuum becomes bigger and bigger. In other words, the vacuum is influenced by what is in it. So everything is interrelated. So there, I simply say that spring-loaded and EM universes emerge from previous universes, okay, from within or outside our physical universe, of various kind of energy. What kind of energy? Electromagnetic, matter, quantum, vacuum, which has what we call virtual particles that are in enormous quantity in a vacuum. So I just end this table by showing Deus is undecidable, within or within you. I've seen a series, a large group of people with Michio Kaku, a Japanese scientist, physicist in the United States, very well known. And he was with other scientists. Half of the room believed that there was a God, and half believed that there was no God. And they were arguing what they believed, who was right. And I think the one that was most that was a smarter there was Michio Kaku, because he said, "Listen, guys, the real answer is that God is not decidable. The existence of God is not decidable for everyone. It's a matter you want to believe in it or you don't want to believe in it." But as I explained in some other clips, if you think of God or Deus as the cosmic energy that vibrates in yourself and in myself and in everything that exists, then you don't need to have many gods, because everything that exists, you could see it as a manifestation of God. Okay? So in this respect, all these war between religions and the gods, what in the Buddhists they talk about half God, whole gods, and so on. But the historic Buddha said, "I'm here to help every sensitive being to get more happy and peace and joyful, and I want to help even the gods who fight together." So that's, I think somehow that's what the Dalai Lama is doing now, with saying so much even when he's not talking. Just his presence is illuminating what is happening. So that's about it for this clip, and I want to thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
And I want to make you realize that I spoke to you as you would represent 1.3 billion people, at least. So that's the end of this clip. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it. And please keep smiling till the next clip.